Kiriko, the new support hero in Overwatch 2, was just announced this morning, and there's a ton of excitement circulating through Twitter, Discord, Reddit, all over the place. So without further ado, let's talk about the character and what she entails. So, let's get right into this. The first thing I do want to talk about is her protection jutsu. I'm probably saying that completely wrong at the start of this video, so I'm gravely sorry for that. But that is her immortality field ability. And then we have the kunais, which do a 120 to the head, which we'll actually get more into later. We got the swift step, which is her teleport ability through walls. Her healing, which is very minimal, which is another thing that we're going to have to talk about. And also her ultimate and the wall climb, which I will keep on screen here. But what does this all mean? What are the numbers here? Let's get right into it. So for the protection jutsu, I had the opportunity to talk to Metro about a few things about the ability, and really, is it a bad thing? Because a lot of people are like, oh my god, this is going to be a lot like immortality field. Is this going to be a problem? So immediately I talked about the cooldowns here, and he says that the cleanse is only a 0.75 second effectiveness. So it compared to immortality field, which is up I think for like 6 to 8 seconds, I might be wrong in that's a lot less. This is how immortality should have been the entire time. For me, I don't think this is going to be entirely too broken. I think this will actually be pretty balanced compared to other things in the game. And then as well as the ultimate will only be active for 8 seconds. The thing that also gives increased reload speed, increased clip, and increased fire speed, increased everything, pretty much speed related for the character, as well as cooldowns, which is very, very nice. I don't know how OP that's going to be compared to the other stuff inside of her kit, but we'll have to talk about that stuff as we go on. Moving on to the kunai, I do have something I can put on screen here from EVA actually that said that the kunai does, I think it's 120 to the head. I might be wrong about that one, but that means for most squishies is a 2-tap headshot. So that's very, very strong. The other side of the story though, if you hit a body shot, it's only like 40 damage. Now you might be like, well, 40 damage to 120, it's a 2 times multiplier, right? No, for her it is a 3 times multiplier for her kunais compared to the 2 times for most other characters, unless it's Widow, which is 2.5 to my knowledge. So I mean, this is a character that requires a lot of precision, which is not something we've really seen from a lot of other main supports. My argument though is that this is the only part of precision her kit really needs. Everything else isn't really too hard to aim, but it's hard to think through. So that's why I'm thinking she's more of a main support, but more on that later. The swift step is her teleportation ability, which is, I mean, I feel like that's going to be pretty self-explanatory. The things that I want to know that I do not know yet are the teleport range and how fast it is to actually teleport, if there's actually a cast time. It didn't look like that's what it was when we were looking at the trailer, but again, I'm not really sure. The healing, again, I'll put that. EVA said something that it's more like a Mercy or Zen heal in terms of effectiveness and how it's going to function. It's going to home in on people, so not hard to aim. I don't see this doing a whole lot of healing. It's also single target, so I doubt that she's going to be doing a lot of healing in terms of like F-Flex support. I think she's going to play much more like a main support. And the ultimate and passive, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. So let's talk about, I've said this many times before in the video already, main support or flex support. I think she's going to be a main support realistically, because it seems like she's not really going to do a whole lot of healing, and the characters that she synergizes best with would be that Ana, the Zen, and the Baptiste, or maybe even Moira, because she's much more aggressive. It seems like the kunais, if you're going to do 120 damage a headshot, you're going to be almost like a DPS, to the sense that main support, it kind of seems like she's going to function a lot more like that. And we can also examine why I think this, and the comps in which she's going to be viable in. I don't really think she's going to be good in Rush, contrary to her ult being the way that it is, because the ultimate, that's the only part of the kit that really lends itself to Brawl. She doesn't give speed boosts like Lucio does in the main support category. She doesn't do a lot of like burst healing in terms of what Baptiste or Moira can do in these Brawl compositions, or even Brigitte, as we've seen earlier. I just don't see Brawl being very good with the functionality of this hero unless you play it as main support, but then why aren't you playing Lucio? Because Lucio, the whole point of Brawl is to get close. Spam, I can kind of see it, but the thing is, I can only see it if you're playing like a weird, fast, pokey spam, where like you're more engaged after you're taking that poke, almost in like a fire and ice composition. I could kind of see it, but outside of that, I mean, if you're going to be playing like a slower spam poke, I would much rather just see the BAP, because if a BAP Zen comp, because if my Zen gets dove, he's honestly going to do more overall damage than Kiriko anyways, and then at that sense, I can just shift, and that's 100 health because of the way that shift works in Overwatch 2 to the Zenyatta. So I don't see that being that big of a great place for Kiriko to be really a big part of. That being said, though, in dive compositions, she's going to be played almost every single time. Whether that be with an Ana or a Zen, I feel like Kiriko is the dive support. The whole idea is that she goes in with the dive, she can do some damage, and then when the enemy tries to counteract and do their own dive, she teleports back to her support, and she peels for that. That is something that Brig couldn't do before. She just had to sit with her main support, or her flex support rather. Kiriko is much more engaged and actually functions very well in a dive scenario. The other thing you have to think of, for healing, when the dive goes in, all she has to do before the Winston jumps or the ball goes in, she sends her heals, and then she just walks in and does damage. That's all she needs to do. So realistically, she functions in this dive composition nearly perfectly. From what I think Zen Kiriko is going to be the new thing with Ball. I could definitely see that comp being very, very strong. The thing is, until we have the numbers, I could also see Ana Kiriko being a thing with Winston. But I think those are the meta comps that you really want to be looking out for. If you don't want to play Kiriko, but you want to play flex support, Ana and Zen are the characters that you're really going to be wanting to look for, especially since, like, this is where she really functions well. So definitely going to be Ball comp, or at least Winston comps and dive in some scenarios. But let's shift forward into something a little bit different. Let's talk about the Battle Pass and how I was wrong in earlier this week's video. Just the stuff that I was wrong about. I was thinking that Kiriko was going to be much sooner in the Battle Pass, and she's not. She's on tier 55. For my free-to-play players out there, I really don't know what that means for you. This could be actually kind of good. This could be a very fast progressing battle pass. This could be a very slow progressing battle pass. What I do know is that from everything I've gathered on Twitter on Overwatch Cavalry, which I do actually suggest you follow along with Metro and EVA, because they've done a great job on Twitter covering this so far. Those sources have said that there will be a lot of different ways that you can actually obtain these things that you want for free, and there's a lot of different options to do that. On top of that, you have 2 weeks before the competitive season starts to actually get this character, because Kiriko will not be able to be played in a competitive setting for 2 weeks, just like before when Orisa wasn't being able to be played, or maybe Baptiste, Doomfist, all of those other characters. It was always a week or two until they were actually allowed to be played in competitive. And on top of that, if you don't have Kiriko in the Battle Pass yet, because you are a free-to-play player, even if you're just a scrim player and you're just trying to play for free, you do get all the characters for free. You don't have to pay for them. They will always be available to you. So for the stuff that matters, the scrims, the officials, you will have the characters that you need to really pop off. There won't be really any barriers there. Just practicing in ranked, that's where things are going to get a little interesting, and you're going to want to have those characters to practice in ranked. But I mean, at least there are free options to do that. Until we get those, I'm not really going to complain or talk too much more about that, because to be fair, there's not a whole lot to really be said about this. But to move this along here, what else do we have from Overwatch Cavalry, that Twitter that I was saying before? We do have a new map that's on its way. It's a new push map. I forget completely and entirely what exactly that is, or what it's called. But I'm excited for that. There's also a lot of new hero skins. In my opinion, I don't really like them a whole lot, but I mean, I want to hear what you guys all think about the skins. I don't really like the new mythical skin. I mean, I'm still going to get it, because, I mean, I haven't gotten content for how many years now, but I mean, that's definitely something to look out for as well. And I mean, I recommend to follow all those things, all the skins, maps, Twitters, all of those people. You can just get it on Twitter. I'm not really going to talk about too much on that, but again, let's just wrap this up a little bit. Let's wrap it up. What do we want to get taken away from this? Kiriko's a new support. She's definitely going to function very well in dive. Maybe a little bit of poke, but I'm definitely thinking a lot of dive. She's going to be a little bit more mechanically demanding than other main supports, but at the end of the day, to me, she is a main support. And for all of you free-to-play players, moving on to our second point, there's going to be options for you to really get this stuff done. Obviously, paying for it is going to be more qualitative, and it's going to be a quality of life improvement when you're playing the game, but you don't necessarily have to. It seems like there's going to be a lot of options, but I can't really speak too much on that. Outside of that, and holy moly, Overwatch is a month away, less than a month away. If you're on the hype train now, you might as well just try it, and I'm really excited for all of that stuff. So before we actually close out the video, I am going to actually open up my Patreon again. I know I had it in the past. It didn't really function too well. There was really no value to supporting me on there, but now there actually is. I'm going to try to do bi-weekly VOD reviews. I'm going to do raffle of all my Patreons twice a month, and then I'm only going to post that VOD review to the Patreon supporters, because I know a lot of you really enjoy that content, but realistically, I'm not going to keep posting that on YouTube. It's just not feasible because it's going to mess with analytics and yada, 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 whatever. But hey, if you're interested in that stuff, that's where that's going to happen a lot. Not saying VODs aren't going to happen on YouTube, but they're going to happen a lot more on Patreon. As well as meta-analysis, I'm going to try to do it every time something big... Honestly, I might just do every week and just talk about kind of what I'm thinking is going on in either Contenders Overwatch League if I'm watching it at the time, or just where I think it's going to be shifting. And I'm only going to be posting that stuff on Patreon as well. And also just life, just what's going on in my life, what's going on. Maybe, I know a lot of you want to know about me more, so Patreon's another way to do that. Maybe I'll post a video every now and then about where I am with being a student, being... I don't know, gym going, yada, yada, whatever, life stuff. So if you're interested in that, that's a great way to support me. $5 there is a lot better spent, in my opinion, than going to Twitch or just donating, because you at least get something out of it, and I also get more of the revenue split. So it's just a better way of supporting your favorite streamers. So if you haven't made it this far and you're not interested in that, that's fine. You know, I appreciate you for watching this far, and I actually do have a question for you. What do you think about Overwatch 2 now? I know last week it was very negative. Has that changed now? Is this new support giving new life to everything that you want in Overwatch? Let me know. I'm very interested in all of your opinions. But until next time, I've got to peace out and pass out. I'll see you in the next one.